Sometimes exhaustion doesn't look like burnout. You still go to work. You still answer messages. You still do what you're supposed to do, but inside, your mind feels quietly tired. When people imagine exhaustion, they usually think of physical fatigue, lack of sleep, long hours of work, but mental exhaustion often looks different. It's quieter. Sometimes everything in life still appears normal. Yet simple things begin to feel heavier than they should. And the strange part is, mental exhaustion rarely comes from doing too much. It often comes from thinking too much for too long. This is what slowly drains the mind. One of the earliest signs of mental exhaustion is subtle. Tasks that once felt simple start feeling strangely heavy. Answering a message, making a small decision, starting something you've done many times before. None of these things are difficult on their own. But when the brain has been processing too much for too long, even small actions can begin to feel like effort. Not because you've become lazy, but because your mind has quietly run out of space. Another sign often appears in social interaction. You may still talk to people. You may still respond politely. But conversations begin to feel exhausting. Not because you dislike the people around you, but because your brain no longer has the energy to process more information. Tone of voice, facial expressions, emotions. Social interaction requires constant mental processing. And when the mind is already overloaded, even normal conversations can feel draining. When the brain becomes overwhelmed, it naturally begins searching for something rare in modern life. Quiet, not boredom, not loneliness, just space where nothing is required. No conversations, no notifications, no expectations. For a mentally exhausted mind, silence isn't emptiness, it's recovery. Mental exhaustion also affects emotional regulation. Things that normally wouldn't bother you suddenly feel irritating. Small interruptions, unexpected changes, minor inconveniences. It's not that your personality has changed, it's that your brain no longer has the energy to filter every stimulus calmly. When mental resources are low, patience becomes harder to maintain. Perhaps the clearest sign is this: your mind rarely feels fully rested, even after sleep, even during quiet moments. Your thoughts still feel heavy, not necessarily anxious, just tired, as if your brain has been running in the background for too long without a real pause. And eventually, even normal life begins to feel mentally demanding. Sometimes mental exhaustion creates something even subtler. You begin moving through your day on autopilot. You drive somewhere, but barely remember the journey. You finish tasks, but your mind was somewhere else the entire time. This is the brain's way of conserving energy. When it becomes overloaded, it slowly reduces how much awareness it uses to process the world. And at first, it feels harmless. But over time, living on autopilot creates a strange distance from your own life. You're still doing everything you're supposed to do, but it begins to feel less like living and more like simply moving through the days. Mental exhaustion rarely arrives dramatically. Most of the time, it appears quietly, hidden inside everyday life. Small tasks feeling heavier, conversations draining more energy, silence becoming necessary. These are not signs of weakness. They are signals. Signals that the mind has been carrying too much for too long. And sometimes the most important thing we can give our mind is simply the space to slow down. If this felt real, you're not alone. Here we explore growth, success, and the human mind. Without noise, just honesty. I'll see you in the next one.